Well, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Hotline, episode 298. And this is the edition with Victor, Chris, and me having no internet this morning. It came on literally like 3 minutes ago. So that was a restart of the computer, a boot up, a load, and a get in the room. You know what? I think it was a pretty good job. So
To be fair,
I'm sweating. I'm out of breath. I'm like flush. I'm nervous. So, we're just going to get through this, guys. What's going on? How you doing, Chris?
yeah, to be fair, it is April the 20th, and you know what that means.
Happy Earth Day to everybody.
Yeah, happy Earth Day.
No, I wish I had a better excuse. I wish
Danny,
I could say that I was having a drink, a smoke, or cleaning up the neighborhood. I wish I could blame it on anything. But thank you, Xfinity. You're the problem.
Yeah.
Danny, like they say where I work, you got to work at least one day a week.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I do a lot of shows on this. I have never had internet down until the minute of.
Panic.
I've had it down 10 minutes before. All right, nobody cares about my internet. Good morning, everybody. Stooks, Mad City Brew, Philly Joe, Val 5. I love this one. Aloha from Hawaii, Gordon, where it's 5 a.m. First time live chatter.
Nice.
Well, I don't know how often you get up at 5 a.m., but we're here every Saturday morning. Yep. Thanks for the welcome. Good morning, Abel. Good morning. Good morning, Chad. Good morning, Steven.
Oh, a lot of chat already. It's good.
Yep. Ruben says, taking a break from Strongsville show to peek in. Danny, we miss you. Guys, I wish I could be in Strongsville so much. You have no idea. But you know what? Sometimes stuff happens in life.
I've never been there, and I Googled it yesterday, and it's only like 4 hours from my house. And I'm like, why have I never gone to Strongsville?
Victor, like I was at a place last night at about 8 o'clock at night where I had a serious mental discussion about getting in the car. Yeah. I could have picked you up, or we could have met there or something. Mookie, I'm spending Earth Day conserving cards and top loaders. That, you know what? Doing God's work, Mookie. We appreciate it. It's a hard job. Somebody's got to do it. If Mookie's not doing it, I think, well, we all would. Rex, good morning from New Buffalo and Valparaiso. You're on the big screens. I apologize if our faces are on the big screens. That may or may not be helping business at the shops. But if anybody's looking for cards in that area, you guys can sports card shop. Vintage Goats, 10-hour drive for me to Strongsville. That's a drive. Even for me, it's 6 or 7. So 10 hours, you might be into plane territory there. It's a heck of a show, though. If you're going for 3 days, maybe it's worth the drive. And if you're really buying and selling, it's probably worth the drive. But to just check it out for the first time, good. Ooh, gosh, 10 hours is a hike. But Victor, I will tell you, phenomenal vintage show.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
It used to be more of a speakeasy type of feel, but it's gotten out a little bit. Vintage Goats. I also have no money.
That's another good point.
Well, yeah,
definitely a factor. You know what? When you talk to dealers, that comes up. That's a good one.
You can't go to Strongsville with $100, apparently.
You know what? You
need a few more simoleons.
Wrong 1978 common beater. They used to have a rule that you couldn't bring in anything that was not vintage. It was a hard fast rule, which to me was both so something and so cool. It was like I said, it really had a speakeasy feel to it. They moved it to a new venue this year, and absolutely curious to see how that works out. Yes, this is a book I recommend all the time. The Bubblegum Card War. Yes, definitely if you're into the history of the cards and specifically the 50s Topps Bowman battles, that is worth a read. Some guy, Logan, Logan Wared says, "Good morning, fellow hobby hotliners. Good morning, Hall
Who's
of
he?
Morning, Logan.
Famer." And I think belated birthday in there also. So the belated birthday, Logan.
Here's a plot twist for your internet issue there, Danny. I have no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, dude,
We're just winging it, folks.
this is not a problem, Victor. Victor, I can't. I have years that I don't know what I talk about.
All right. Just a disclaimer before we get started.
No, we're absolutely fine. Have you guys heard of Victor Wembanyama?
I believe so.
Tall
I
guy.
think he plays.
Thin straps.
Yeah, tall guy, French.
Yeah.
Lives in Texas
this
now.
week, he had a Topps NFT sell for $150,000 and a card sell for like $500,000. I love Wemby. Just been drowning in my sorrows from watching people look at $600,000 cards while I look at my 55 Topps Wally Moon and Don Mossy. Yeah, Strongsville will humble you. Whatever your collection is, Strongsville will humble you.
Yes.
What kind of ice cream do you like? Victor, I think he's easing into the topics for you.
Is that what he's doing?
Victor, your ice cream of choice is?
Oh, man. Oreo.
Oh, nice pick. Yeah. Solid. Chris?
I'm more of a peanut butter ripple man myself. So
Victor wins. So getting back to Wemby, and I am going to keep the train on the tracks today. Wemby eventually will put an end to the LeBron versus GOAT discussion. Wow, that's a lot of pressure on
I
a
don't know.
That's a lot of pressure on a
little early for that discussion.
Yeah. So Victor, let's talk rookies in the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of pressure on this guy. I get it. But you're talking about buying a house or buying a car.
Yeah.
I mean, and please, I understand it's a limited special card.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is not auto.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, I don't know if you're up on this, but my understanding is not auto. And the Topps NFT Top Shot, is Top Shot still around? And somebody paid $150,000. I don't know. Are there people in the hobby that are just, they see Honus Wagner and they just think that they're in on the next one? I mean, I don't want to knock Victor.
I think there is some FOMO involved here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in general, like Caitlin Clark going for $500,000, not a shot at Caitlin Clark. A lot of money for somebody who's yet to play a game. Right. And I'm going to say the same thing in baseball prospects. Prospecting in general, I think, runs a little out of control. So I'm using Wemby as an example, and it's not a shot at him. But yeah, here we go. $600K for an M101 1916 Babe Ruth in an SGC 3.5.
Wow.
Slouch. I want to see an SGC. I want to see an SGC. Right. Would you rather? There you go. Victor.
Is this Wemby a 1 of 1 by any chance? What product was it from? Was it from
Panini Prism, the Shimmer 1 of 1?
Oh, black
1 of 1.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Victor has no idea about what we're talking about.
I'm actually dropping a video on Sunday about Wembanyama, but
really,
I think a lot of it has to do with a couple of things. Number one is just kind of where the market is at, right? There's a different market out there that has a different budget than most people, and that creates some competition with those who have deep pockets. It's a flex purchase, right? And that's okay. I mean, there's room for them in the space, right? But also, I think it's the unicorn that Victor Wembanyama is becoming. I've been keeping a close eye on his play, really critiquing his play. In my opinion, the kid's the real deal. And he has a body type and an aggression about his play that I think he's going to make an impact on the game, and he's going to make an impact on the hobby. And that's as of April 20th, 2024, subject to change, right? But the kid is impressive.
Well, I'm going to put this question at you then. Is this too far to say? Will he pass LeBron and MJ?
Yeah, that's too far.
How
Okay.
many rings does he have now? Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
great. He's great. He's great. Not quite that great. No. Here we go. Rex says we sold a Wemby auto redemption early of 19K.
Wow.
I mean, you know what? If you're running a store, nice, good on you. And this is a fair question, and this is probably something the hobby doesn't talk about enough. I wonder how many of these big modern card sales are real verifiable sales. Would we be naive to think that some of the auction houses, do some of it for marketing, or some of the sales don't get paid for on eBay?
It gets shilled up.
It's happened in the hobby in the past. Are we naive to think it would never happen again? So I don't know. I'm not saying the Wemby card is the example of that, but Rex, that's a good point in general.
Yeah, it is a good point, but it also bears fact of the value that Card Ladder provides, where they actually go in depth into those kind of purchases to verify those kind of sales. So
yeah. Absolutely.
Makes you wonder.
But Twitter does not go that far. They'll just type stuff out right away. So you gotta find
Facts.
out. But 500,000 is wild for a modern basketball card.
It is.
500,000. I'm sorry, 500,000 is wild for any card, even if it's vintage, and I'm a vintage guy. What about the Wemby versus Curly Neal debate? That's hysterical. Curly Neal.
They have the same number of rings.
Oh, is that a homer line?
You know who Curly Neal is?
Yes, Harlem Globetrotters.
Harlem Globetrotters.
Yes,
right.
I call myself.
How many rings do they have?
Well, they beat the Washington Generals every game.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're kind of undefeated,
And the Spurs this year aren't all that great.
U.S. sports cards. What's going on? Excited to see John Newman at the Syracuse show tomorrow. One time, the whole Hobby Hotline crew should descend on Syracuse. I think I can safely say the whole Hobby Hotline crew, if we ever descend, it will not be Syracuse. We love you, Syracuse, but I heard that after 10 p.m. nothing's open once Applebee's closes. Yeah. So, that's just
I'm out.
That's just what I heard.
You guys ever been up there before?
My wife went to Ithaca, which was not Syracuse, but.
Have you ever made the pilgrimage to Jefferson Burdick's gravestone?
No, you're gonna pull out the flex here. I'm so your video.
I did that about a dozen or so years ago, and it's.
Do you have a link? Do you have a link to your video? I want to put that up.
It's actually a 2-part video. I'll see if I can find it if it's still.
See if you can find it. Do you think Jackson Holiday will turn it around? Well, speaking of high-priced prospects, this is right in my backyard here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think he'll turn it around. The list of players, and they went through, that have had a hiccup at the start of their career and still had good careers, I mean, is tremendous. Victor, I mean, it's, you know this probably better than anybody. Can you judge a rookie's performance after 2 weeks?
No, definitely not. And it's just, again, the hype that we've been putting on this kid and the pressure that this kid is under is just, I mean, it's difficult to be that age, and some do, right? But the majority, when you look at it, when a kid comes up where his dad was a ball player, he comes up with an enormous amount of pressure. Most of them do not really make it into the big leagues. Now, there are some unicorns, Ken Griffey Jr. obviously did not affect him at all. But for the majority, man, when you're coming in with that much pressure, it's hard to surpass that.
A hobby loves the idea of a legacy player looking for the next Griffey. I'll say Trout was that guy, and then looking for the next Trout. I know everybody likes to diss on Trout the last couple of years.
Man, he's having a good season too.
The guy, Victor, I got to tell you, I think the kid's going to have a chance.
Yeah.
Trout's a pretty good ball player.
He's coming out focused this year, man.
Yeah. Caitlin Clark better than Wemby. Hobby-wise, they're both exploded. Time Magazine does their top 100 people of the year. I think if we did the hobby's top 10, players that affected cards this year, they might both make it on an unofficial list. For NBA licensed products, Wemby will have only 50% of one-on-ones, as he will have no autos due to his Fanatics exclusive when compared with other rookies who have base and autos.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's an excellent point. We have a great chat.
Does that really matter though? Because a one-of-one did sell without an autograph for 600,000. How much added value would an autograph have?
Does that have to do with having no autographs in the licensed product? Is it like love the one you're with? If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. If you can't get that rookie auto, it is what it is. I just put in comments, by the way, Chris, I sure hope this is the link to the Jefferson Burdick video.
This is the link to part 1.
Okay. Because I just put it up there. And if this is like your vacation to the beach,
yeah,
I would like to apologize in
advance. Some people go to the beach, some people go to the mountains. I go to graveyards of former collectors.
Wow.
Well, do a little history lesson. Give me the elevator pitch for those who don't know the history of the great Jefferson Burdick.
Jefferson Burdick was probably the greatest card collector who ever lived. He worked a blue collar job in Syracuse. And just collected cards, not just sports cards, but also cataloged them and tried to track them. He's the guy that came up with the numbering for certain sets, like the American Tobacco Company baseball set from 1909 is Jefferson Burdick gave it the T206 name. T for tobacco, 206 for,
which explains why it's cards that look alike but are not necessarily from the same set at the same time.
Right.
It's more of a overseeing catalog, which we still use to this day.
Yeah, we still use the terminology. So
yeah. Anyway, so shout out to you for going out and paying respects to Jefferson Burdick. A couple great comments here. Abel just following up. Yes, the base rookie sold at $500,000. I'll phrase it that way because we casually say 500,000 around here
to be dramatic.
Yeah, but I can attribute that price as he does not have an auto one-on-one as an alternate option. Well, there's a great question for you, Victor.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a hierarchy of rookie love? Is it like, auto patch, then auto, then patch, then nothing?
Yeah, definitely. There's a greater demand for those who can afford that kind of thing. I don't even bother looking anymore because it's out of my budget, right? So I'm more of a base card kind of guy with or one of the parallels, but definitely
there's a ranking between those.
Sure. But I will say, and this is where I differentiate things when it comes to RPAs and that sort of thing. A lot of us call it rookie card, but a lot of it is really, those are inserts. Those are cards, a true rookie card is a card that comes from the base set. And a lot of these things are actually insert cards, and we deem them as rookie cards, but it all depends on what lens you're looking through. But yeah, there's definitely a higher demand for those who can afford it, right? Yeah, that RPA, man, there's nothing like an RPA, right? That's top of the line.
Price wise, that's
luxury.
That's the I don't even know what the top selling car is these days. We bought a used Toyota. And I'd like to recommend them highly. Fantastic cars.
And a lot of it is these, the contract issues that we're still having. I just don't understand why this stuff doesn't get resolved, or some kind of compromise or some kind of amendment is made to help us clear this up so that we are doing what's right towards the hobby and not so much making this a legal battle. You know, it's a shame. It really is. And the collectors are the ones who are suffering the consequences, unfortunately.
All right, thank you for clearing that up, because I do like the hobby. Use slang rookie card far too much in your presence. I try to get my my language correct, and
you don't have to, man. Don't.
Out of respect, dude, you work way too hard for me to throw that around casually. No pressure at all for Jackson Holiday when your family's sitting in the first row or two. Geez, give the kids some room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just a wife and a dad
Yeah.
who love them. Yeah, and by the way, the woman next to the dad was Jackson's wife. There was some confusion on this. If you saw the video of his at bats, it's Matt Holiday, Jackson's wife. I don't know her name. Not Jackson and his mother. Not Matt and Jackson's mother.
Gotcha.
There was a lot of people who did highlights who on TV, and it's become a kind of a funny thing here in Baltimore.
Okay.
All right, we're going to blow up the chat room here, guys. There was something with Kurt's Card Care. I don't know if anybody heard this week. A little bit of news that the Twitter and Instagram verse had no reaction to, but we're going to bring it up, I think, anyway. Kurt's Card Care had some cards deactivated. I love that term. It sounds so official. The cert numbers were deactivated because of the process used to clean them. And they've made a statement basically saying that they don't accept that type of stuff. Now this is now see, wow. Mookie, I'm already missing Strongsville.
This is next level right here, folks.
This is live from Cleveland. Heard Kurt's Card Care was at Strongsville show. Big news on that front this week. Yes. If Kurt was at Strongsville, that would be crazy. I wonder if that's a joke from Mookie.
Probably run him out of there on the rail, probably.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know. He's had a lot of support.
So, I really don't know where I fall in this story.
Yeah.
The deactivation coming before a public statement, forgetting everything else.
Mm-hmm.
When you know that it's going to cause this much chatter, I don't know if that was the best way for PSA to handle the marketing side of it. That being said, there's the whole conversation on, how we treat cards, what's allowed, what's not allowed. And I put allowed in air quotes here because PSA, I guess, are the ultimate judges on what they'll grade. But in general, what do you Chris, what do you feel about, card cleaning?
First of all, explain what deactivating means.
They took the cert number, and if you now look it up, it will say this cert number is not valid. It has been deactivated and is not.
But the card is still out there in the slab.
Yes. Okay. Which is why always check your cert numbers when you buy a slab card, guys. Make sure it's legitimate and make sure it's not deactivated. There's your PSA. Oh, okay. That was a bad pun. Go ahead, Chris.
What were we talking about?
Thoughts on Kurt's cards being deactivated because of the cleaning.
I don't understand why you would want to get your cards clean. I think there's too much at risk there. If you send a card to this guy, Kurt, right, and he winds up damaging your card even more with his whatever he uses.
I think he just sells one kid. I don't know how much he does. I think it's hard. It's either his own cards or you have to know him, I think. And but Victor, I know you have some thoughts, but Chad says, I've cleaned my cards with a microfiber cloth, but that's it. I've never used chemicals and never will. Victor, your thoughts on this whole situation in card cleaning in general, I guess.
Man, that's a loaded question, dude. That's really,
Yeah.
I'm getting put on the stand, right?
It's Hobby Hotline.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing. I got a couple of things. Number one, with the deactivation thing, I really questioned the source, right? And it was posted on social media by some Tiffany cards. I don't know them. I don't know. And this didn't really come from Kurt's Card Care, and it really didn't come from PSA. And I was on a date night with my wife last night, so I'm not up to snuff. Is that actual fact? But I'm questioning the resource. If somebody in the chat can verify, yes, PSA confirmed this or Kurt's Card Care confirmed this, I would be really glad to know if that's legit. But that's the first thing I question. But overall, this debate that the hobby is having with cleaning and non-cleaning, and there's so many layers to this, but I really lean on a principle that really is let me call it what it is. It's a biblical principle, okay? And what the way I view it is hard to tell supposedly if a card has been doctored up by this stuff, but I'm of the opinion that if there is no law written on it, I guess this is making a case for leadership that makes actual big decisions, right? But if there is no law written on this, then it's a matter of conviction. And each individual person is going to have their own individual conviction, where I might think it's wrong 100%, and I'll scream it from the mountaintops. But people might think that it's okay, because that is their conviction on this process. There is no law that says you shall not, right? So now it's a matter of conviction. And here's the other kick in the teeth. When it comes to convictions, we should not be arguing about our own convictions. There is a freedom that is given, a boundary where we are allowed to have our own personal convictions on a matter. And so I shouldn't criticize you for having your conviction, and you shouldn't be criticizing me for having mine. And so then if that's the case, then let's make a law on it, right? And I guess, who does that come from? You can't ask the hobby, because in the hobby, it's subjective. Everybody has their own opinion on the matter.
You put it on Twitter right now, you'd have 100 answers before we were off the air.
Some people think it's a majority of people think that it's okay, and another large majority of the people think it's not. And so that's where we're at.
Yep. And for full disclosure, I'm involved in Hobby News Daily, which has had articles and videos featuring Kurt. So if you want to hear from him before all this happened, he's an interesting guy to listen to, and it's, I think, well worth your time to see any video that he's been a part of directly and get to know the person before you judge.
I mean, I've used spit. I mean, but isn't that, there's stomach acid.
That's like when we grew up, we walked uphill to school. We didn't have these chemicals. We had to do it with our own saliva, people.
We had
God only knows what's in our saliva, man. I mean, we got stomach acid and all this other food that we ate.
Right. So let me ask an honest question to you guys. Do you feel differently if you're doing it to a card and then selling it versus if you bought a card knowing it was already done? Does that change how you feel? Would you not buy the card, or does that not affect you once it's graded, and if it grades?
Well, if I really, really needed that card to
there we go,
kill off a set,
that's a collector,
and I know that it's been, doctored a little bit, I might take it, knowing that I might buy it, knowing that it's doctored. I mean, I'm probably, because it's for my own personal collection, I'm probably not going to sub it for grading. So why not? It also depends on the price. I mean, if I know that a card has been doctored a bit, I better be getting a discount on that too. So,
well, that's a fair point. Same thing on a trim card. I think that's a fair, if it's labeled authentic, altered or something like that. There's already a category for that. Victor, I think this is the hobby reality to this conversation. Is there is a PSA law.
Well, I'd like to see the resource. I mean,
well,
from the last I heard,
if somebody could put the quote that they put out, and I tried to find it and could not find it last night. I think Ryan Hogue put out a quote, and I will paraphrase something to the effect of, we do not support altering cards, and et cetera, et cetera.
A post on social media. I mean, try to find that.
If somebody could put up a link or to it, I don't want to paraphrase without having the link, and I'll admit I couldn't find it when I went to look for it last night, real quick.
I think they opened up a can of worms, to be honest with you guys. This has been going on for so long, and the concerns of what's the chemical going to do long term. Listen, long term is here. If it was an issue long term, I think we would have seen the long term side effects of it, because this has been going on, to my knowledge, for several decades, and it's just now it's being monetized now, and that's where the issues are coming up.
Here Rex makes a point. The question is now, can they actually detect the chemicals,
right?
And do they actively even try? My guess is there's no process to detect the chemicals at any grading company.
And that takes more technology. It takes more time to grade a card, and that's going to mean more money.
Yep.
Because somebody's going to pay for that.
And I will say that I think part of the whole story here is that Kurt made a video of how he was doing this.
Right.
And I think as a human being, and Victor, to your eloquent point you made earlier, people have a visceral reaction when they hear something, and it's how do you handle your reaction? And unfortunately, in the hobby, everybody goes on and has that quick reaction before I think they really take a deep breath and figure out what's going on. Honus Wagner, or SGC8 or it was PSA. The first one was trimmed. The very first Honus Wagner was trimmed.
Yeah.
This is, to Victor's point, this is not new either.
Yeah.
And it's flagrant deception. The question is, flagrant deception, is that an oxymoron? If it's flagrant, is it deception?
Yeah, and I think it's, trimming is obviously right, but there's certain things that we have to declare that is okay, and certain things that are not. Obviously, trimming should never be allowed. Dipping it in fluid. I mean, and pressing it with. I don't know, man. We have to sit down and write these things out. In my opinion, there should be a thing on these authentication websites, or a page where it actually spells out, this is not allowed, and we catch this, it's going to be gone. This is okay to do, though. You can wipe it down with a microfiber cloth. You can, spit or what have you.
I'd also like to point out that Logan is very funny in the chat. I don't know that I can put it on screen, but if you'd like to follow a separate conversation and not listen to us, Logan.
What do we know?
Logan's got open mic night going.
Okay.
Doing his thing, and if you hear me laugh out loud, it might be because of that. This to Victor's point, and now I lost the.
The point, right?
Here we go. Why does the 53 Satchel page smell like keyboard duster? There are some things that with this whole story that you just gotta laugh at, guys. We're talking about cardboard here. It's okay to laugh. Here's a good one. PSA could add it to the flip. Say it came from Kurt. Let the buyer decide. You know what? I still say we got the best chat room.
Yeah. You guys, I mean, is PSA now going to have to hire like smellers
Well, no,
whenever they get like a vintage card, they'll be like
a dog, trained dogs.
Yeah, get like a drug sniffing dog to smell for like acetone or lighter fluid or whatever, nail polish remover or whatever they put on those things.
The battery says I've heard Kurt's formula was actually derived from Victor's saliva.
Yeah.
They went
so you're getting a cut out of this now.
It's like the original recipe. Here we go. It's the PSA canine unit we'll have.
You guys are out of control today.
this is, but you know what? I think this speaks to how much people care about it.
Yeah.
You know, I really think if nobody was passionate, nobody would have a comment on it. And I think to your point, Victor, whether it's one side or the other, or if you're totally ambivalent and don't care about the topic, there is something about this that I think hits us all, because we've all handled cards. We've all wished they looked better. And so anyway, Korean Cardboard, good, very early morning, gents. A shout out to our people all over the world that are listening to us at times that are unhealthy for your sleep patterns. We appreciate it. We really do.
Dan, what time is it in Korea, I wonder?
Yeah, we ask that every week. We should probably know. Okay. It's probably the same time every Saturday.
Yeah.
But we ask every week anyway. Jeff, if you have anything, a screenshot or something, I'd love to see that. That apparently a YouTuber called the FBI on Kurt. I'm going to put that up there as Jeff's card journey comment. For right now, I have not seen that. That doesn't mean it's not true, but I have not seen that. And I will admit to actually having a family life yesterday a little bit as well.
Yeah, but I think PSA opened up a can of worms with this. I'll be honest with you, And
okay, I'm sorry. This is the question I keep meaning to ask, and it's a serious question, which is why I forget. Do you think the card companies got caught off guard and blinded that this whole thing has become a public conversation? Like they were almost happier when it was not a public conversation. They didn't have the responsibility. They didn't have to deal with the canine unit. It wasn't something they had to worry about.
It's hard for me to say
that it's a big topic.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say that they got caught off guard because Kurt's Card Care product and even the Gem Minty, there's another one out there, right?
Yeah, Mr. Minty or
Mr.
something.
Minty, yeah. This has been out in the forefront, mainstream YouTube for quite some time now, at least a good year, where a lot of these videos are being created and a lot of this buzz is being generated. So it's been out there. I think they've been trying to, control it, but it just this thing keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I think it's something that really needs to be addressed. PSA could have made a strong stance here by if they did indeed deactivate those certs, but I don't know if that was the right move. I mean, it's a good flex to try to keep this thing, controlled, but I don't know. I think long term we're opening up because now we're demanding is that you a disclaimer, right? That you notify. So now we got to make separate labels and that sort of thing, and it's another layer within the process that's going to generate more technology, more time, more people.
Well, that's what it speaks to. It speaks to the technology and the time.
Yeah.
The companies are for-profit businesses. These are not nonprofits for the hobby. And when you're in a for-profit business, there's a checks and balances, internally. And so it comes down to how much do people care? How much do they have to respond? And is a public statement, and I love that you're calling it a flex. It really is a flex on their part. Does that solve the public outcry, but it doesn't solve the core problem? Or do they actually have to dig down to the core problem, and then they have technology and cost and everything else?
I believe it was Neo Cards and Comics who interviewed Pete from SGC like a year and a half ago on this exact topic. And Pete's response was, hey, listen, if we can't detect it, there's nothing that we can really, there's nothing there. Now, if we do see residue, then we have to address it. But the way it stands, we can't tell what's been done. and that's the problem.
This Steven says he's so funny, Doctor. One day you will get to buy a card from Fanatics, send it to Kurt, then to PSA, then to eBay vault with one click.
And Fanatics will be getting a cut of.
Man, it's funny, but it's so it kind of makes sense, don't it?
We're really close to true on that.
Yeah.
I think a lot closer than we want to admit. You know, this is an interesting question, and I don't, you know, this is a fair, you know, comment. And maybe scam is not the right word, but people use it. It's just more evidence that grading is a scam. You know, and Victor, you made the point that this has been going on for years. So I don't want to call it a scam, but is grading far more imperfect than we give it credit for, Chris? Is it far less?
It's an objective opinion of someone. It's not subjective. You're sending your card in, and it gets looked at by what, 2-3 different people. They come up with a grade. They're probably different grades. It's averaged out in the end, and they're probably not gonna. You know, we're human beings. We're not perfect. We're probably not gonna. You know, 3 different people are gonna come up with 3 different grades for something. So you're paying for a person's opinion when you send your card to get graded.
Well, this is why a lot of people say collect the card, not the grade, and I collect cardboard, not plastic.
I collect cards, not numbers.
Yeah.
Historically, grading came from scams. It's because there was a lot of scammers out there when printing technology started to get advanced with computers and in the 90s and the 2000s, that stuff was just being, you know, that we had to come up with some kind of process, and grading really gave us that sense of security that this is a real card.
For people that didn't live through the scamming of the 80s, I think it's hard to understand what the world was like.
Right.
Beckett started as a magazine company. Grading came in, you know, way down the line. PSA, SGC, look at what years they actually started. I got news for you. It was during the junk wax era. You know, these didn't start with vintage cards.
Right. Peace of mind is what it gave consumers.
Yeah.
And it took off because there was,
especially as the internet started to come into the hobby.
Yeah.
I mean, it gave collectors some bit of confidence that when they bid on a card on eBay, they're going to get what they get. You know, and that's always been the one thing. I don't want to say Achilles heel of buying cards over the internet, but you're buying these cards sight unseen. And if you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a card that the seller says is in condition X,
right?
But you get the card and you think it's condition X -2,
right?
That's a problem, and that's one good thing that grading has brought to the hobby. It's brought some level of standardization among
opinions.
Mm-hmm. And the great thing is you can take it or leave it. Nobody makes you buy it unless you're buying a 101. You have options. Jimmy, great point here. The Upper Deck hologram existed solely for scammy actors in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I remember how big of a deal that was when they put a hologram on. You're like, whoa, nobody will ever fake a card again.
And they were the only ones who had that technology for a lot of years,
or cared enough to put it on. Mm-hmm. However you want to look at it, but that was a big deal. And once again, and here, and I want to put our Rex comments here. Think about how many people crack and resubmit cards. More and more grading seems like a potential house of cards, pun intended, I'm sure, Rex, to me. I've always thought that was an interesting side of this, is we look at pop reports and we look at submissions, are they getting more inaccurate over time because of this?
If it's an iconic card, I would say absolutely. The only one you can really is the tens, right? Those
Right, exactly.
That's the only legit reading.
But was it the first or second company?
Yeah.
Somebody said PSA stands for please submit again.
Yeah.
Which I think is hysterical, and I had to work that in somehow today.
Yeah.
But I really think that's an issue. Logan says this is just another tool that scammers can use to exploit collectors. Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to put through cards, through other companies, and they're fake, that's certainly not something I would consider kosher.
Yeah, net cracking and resubbing, I think, has been just in the last 4 years since the COVID boom. I think it's when it's really. I think before that, the percentage of actual crackouts and resubs were very, very small compared to the overall cards that were getting graded, probably less than 1%. But there seems to be a trend ever since the COVID boom that makes it a little bit more normal, right, to crack out and resub, try again type of thing, and that comes a little bit like the commenter said, because of the greediness of certain individuals, flippers or what have you. Yeah, it's a shame, but the readings really are skewed on these pop reports, especially if a card is an iconic card.
And Rex says, don't get me wrong, we submit to PSA and SGC for various reasons. And I want to touch on that. It's a bit hypocritical of us, but we're not really big fans of grading. I think that's an excellent point. Do you guys look at different grading companies and without getting into specifics, maybe for different types of cards? Like if you were to submit, do you look at every grading company as having its own type of niche? Or
I do not.
Are you a PSA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get my cards graded, so I don't have to worry about it.
Well, there you go. Because you collect cardboard, not plastic.
Exactly. Cards, not numbers.
It's the circle of life. How
about you, Danny?
I do both. I collect both.
Okay.
And I'm not afraid to say that my PC collections are typically graded. My sets are typically raw. So
okay.
I'm collecting right now 2 dual sport athletes, people who play professionally in more than one sport. Well, those are all going to be graded, not because of the value, just because of the display ability to put them all together, because I hope I can get a registry made for that. Maybe if there's anybody in the comments who's a PSA Hall of Famer could help me. I think that would be a great category to have in the registry.
How many PSA Hall of Famers we have in our chat?
I don't know, but I think dual sport athletes is a fantastic one. And so that's why I'm collecting it right now. But Victor, I'm working on the 57 set.
Nice.
90% of that is in a raw binder. I mean, in binder pages.
Okay.
So I span the whole spectrum down to just cards sitting on my desk.
Do you send to one grading company for one thing and another grading company for something else, or?
All right, you're going to make me fess up here. 90% PSA.
Okay.
Yeah. 99% PSA.
Okay.
I don't mind buying SGC. I like buying SGC if I like the card.
Okay.
To me, SGC is about the card, 100%. Because in my mind, I would send it to PSA even if it cost me the grade one day.
So you're 100% collector's universe.
I was very happy to see it come together. I'm not going to lie. You're right. You know what? I'm not going to lie. It felt like a family gathering. Somebody finally got married, and now we can have the family gathering, and everybody's under the same umbrella. The chat's probably okay. Thank you, Mark. This is fantastic. There's a great display at the Hall of Fame now. 2 sport baseball athletes.
Nice.
That is something that will obviously be on my to-do list to look up after this. Dylan, what's going on? Hawaii. As I look at my wall of graded cards, I can't stand seeing the giant number that SGC puts on the slab. Well, that's definitely a fair point, whether or not you like the look of the slab. Any idea if PSA and SGC will grade together and just use a different label since they're one company and all sharing resources? From my understanding, and I did speak directly to Nat Turner, their SGC is being operated as a separate company for the time being. The only exception is counterfeiting technology is going to be shared at whatever the highest level they have, that they're going to make that consistent between the two companies. But other than that, Peter is still running SGC, and PSA and collectors is not telling them what to do, is what I was told. So take that for whatever it's worth.
I like it. They need to keep it that way.
Yes. Brent, you missed. I don't know if you missed the beginning. Wish we were all in Strongsville. Yes, definitely, without a doubt. Several carbs I'll request authentic with SGC versus getting a grade. That's an interesting approach. I've heard other people say that. Do you guys buy authentic altered? Or, well, Chris, I know you wouldn't. Victor, would you buy altered or authentic?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a big card, I wouldn't mind putting something like that in my PC.
Yeah, I think if the card's legit, no problem. Let's try to help when we can. I know very little, but I'll share it. Jeff's card journey. I bought a small lot of 58 Topps Football Raw yesterday. Very cool, by the way. I can't wait to get them and put them in my Zion Max. That's a new product on the market. Zion has come out with their own holder that I see a lot of people talking about. Here's the one I want to ask. What are your guys' plans for the National?
I'll be there.
Super VIP all 5 days.
You're a super VIP every day, Chris.
Yes, you
super
are.
Elite, man. Super elite. Get me in 30 minutes early. Free parking. Super elite. Super elite. Double the promos. Super elite. Super elite.
Victor, how far of a drive for you?
It's going to, oh man, it's not far. Less than 4 hours, maybe 3.5 hours, I believe it's going to take. I don't know. I got to look it up. I don't know.
But are you driving, I assume?
I'll be driving, yeah.
Yeah. Brent says I soak all my cards in gasoline and then use a match. You can't detect any old staining after that.
There you go.
that is a way to keep it off.
Because you can't detect anything after that.
Just a little bit of charring. This is a big issue that's come up. Short two Universal Pop reports. That makes zero sense. PSA needs to do away with SGC. Well, this is a story that came up a couple weeks ago, and you know the Universal Pop report is something that people have a strong feeling about. I'm kind of against it until there's a set of rules to kind of even out what the grades are. I think it would be too incompatible to have the PSA registry blended. However, I think the information should be put side by side. I think if you scan a card from either company, you should be able to see the other company's pop report next to it. And, they have that technology, I would believe, to do now. Victor, is a PSA guy, do you want to see the pop reports blended or do you want to see them kept separate?
I do not. I'd like to keep them separate. I think now that they've merged, right, or bought out or whatever the terminology is,
they're Facebook dating.
There's no reason why PSA can't extend those registries into an SGC format and just give them their own registry. I don't care for Universal.
Chris, I know you don't grade, but for the sanity of the hobby, do we need a universal registry, or is it not a practical application?
I don't know how that would work though, because each of the different grading companies has a different rubric for what is mint, gem mint, or pristine. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, a PSA 10 is not necessarily the same thing as a BGS 9.5, even though they're both labeled as gem mint. they have different standards. So
I will say if PSA and SGC merge and make a universal, just those two companies, I don't have no issue with it, with that concept either. But it's not, I don't think I'd make a big deal about it if they do merge, is my point.
It doesn't move the meter on you too much.
But just those two companies like PSA, SGC.
You got to be under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
Rex says, I'm driving in from Michigan, also driving to the Tops Conference in Atlanta at the end of next week.
Nice.
Good on you for that drive. I went to college down there in Atlanta, and the drive from Baltimore was enough for me.
Hey, Danny, before we come up against the hour, is it okay if I change gears on you for a second?
Please.
I do want to promote the ballot that is going on at the Sports Card Hall of Fame Network. It's the annual Baseball Card Hall of Fame voting ballot that we have. And I'd like, if we can support Ray Fonio and that YouTube channel. He just released a video last week with all the instructions and all of that. Again, it's Sports Card Hall of Fame Network. It's a YouTube channel. Look for Ray's most recent video, and he'll give you the link to the ballot and all of the details about the participation of it. I also wanted to, let everybody know that I am no longer with Sports Card Hall of Fame Network. At the beginning of the year, I was planning out my year and everything that I have going on with the hobby and the amount of time that I have. I had to really make some adjustments and shift some things up. And I respectfully bowed out with the Sports Card Hall of Fame Network team. And I felt like, there's a lot of good talent out there that can assist these guys. I can no longer invest in it. A lot of it is pre-war, or some of it is pre-war, I should say. And it's an area that I'm really not strong in. I'm more, the golden age and forward. But really they do great work. It's a great cause that they're doing, and it's generating a lot of buzz over the last few years. I want to continue to support them. And my favorite part is that now this year I get to vote, where in past years I couldn't vote. So a lot of shout out to Ray Fonio and that Baseball Card Hall of Fame. Check it out and give them some love.
And I put in the chat room the name of the YouTube channel that they can check out for the information. So if you're in the chat room, or if you're watching this later and you want to put on the chat, we have it in there for the Sports Card Hall of Fame Network. Thank you for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan says, yes, get out and vote for Robin Yount rookie card.
That's what they call pumping, right? Pumping and
1975 forever.
There's laws against that.
I'm sorry. I got to step in here. 1975 is an ugly set of cards.
You don't like it. You either love it or hate it.
Put it with 72. 72 and 75 can date, and they can walk, and they can go move somewhere happily. And I think we're going to start wrapping it up on this note as a PSA. Do not microwave trading cards. Thank you, Logan. That's a hot take. Danny, you're off my Christmas list.
There you go.
As long as you put me on the Hanukkah one, I'm fine. 99% PSA. Let's go. Yeah, I kind of am 99% PSA. All right. I ask it every weekend because I always like to know right before we get out, leave on a positive vibe for everybody. Guys, put it in the chats. You know what I'm going to ask. What are we doing hobby-wise? Exciting, not exciting? Sorting cards, doing content, going to a show? What are we up to this weekend, Chris?
Actually, I went to Bel Air yesterday. So.
Oh, text me, dude. I would have met you. Not yesterday,
okay.
Right? In general.
All right.
Yeah, it's the LCS.
I've been there in a while, so.
Yeah. Victor, what are you up to?
Recording, editing, and uploading.
Glamorous.
Yes.
I just did an interview, and part of the discussion was for every 10 minutes of content, it's about an hour of work. So I wish you Godspeed, my friend, as you sit there and try to get everything to sync up.
Yep.
That is That's the true work in content creation.
Yep.
Absolutely. You guys, if you don't grade cards, you don't get scammed. Well, that's not 100% true either, which is why there's certain cards on the market. Logan says, going to Talladega if it doesn't rain. I hope there's a race. If there's not, then I just hope you enjoy Talladega.
I just found out that Logan has a YouTube channel. I did not know that until YouTube fed it to me the other day. And I gladly subscribed to his channel, but he's got a ton of videos on YouTube.
Chris, Super VIP, let's go. Logan, give us your
only way
link
to go.
before we close out. Rex says, thanks, guys. Have fun. Rex, thank you as always. The sports card shop is fantastic. Shake and bake, Logan. All right, guys. For no internet, and there we go. Thanks, Victor.
And no real topics either.
Well, the hobby has topics, whether or not we talk about them. We somehow flew this plane today. You guys are the best co-pilots. I appreciate your patience with me. And thank you so much to the chat room. Every Saturday morning at approximately 11 a.m., you will find Hobby Hotline on Bench Clear Media. Thank you, guys. Any last words, Victor?
Buenos nachos, muchachos.
There we go. And Chris?
And let's keep rocking in the free world, folks.
Enjoy your weekend.